Michel Amar, thank you so much for joining us on Wall Street Unplugged again.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. So the last time we spoke was a little over 2 months ago, and we talked about your company, DigiPower, symbol DGXX, and the stock was actually trading under $1. Today, it's trading around 260, 270. It's up a lot. It's not the reason why I'm having you on, but just because your stock's up. It's up for significant reasons where a lot has happened over the past 2 months. What has happened? Explain to us, and explain how are you surprised at the investor interest, because things seem to go pretty well right now for you guys.
Basically, we started to communicate with our investor base that we are pivoting to the AI infrastructure, and we announced a very important partnership with Supermicro, which today is the #1 AI servers in the world in terms of sales. I think they're going to do about $45 billion and surpass Dell servers this year. We basically are in communication on a daily or bi-weekly basis with them and are developing our first platform, which we intend to operate by Q4 this year. Why it's important, Frank, is the fact that most of these projects are hyperscale and take 3 to 5 years. We developed the proprietary modular system called ARMS, AI-ready modular solution system, that we can scale it up, but start in a small scale and then be ready in a very short time period. So we should be operating by this year, our first platform, and scale it up to the full 55 megawatts allocation that we have in Alabama.
And I want to bring everyone in here. So if you haven't seen the last interview, you, with DigiPower, transform your company, right? So you're a Bitcoin miner, still a Bitcoin miner, which is a fantastic business considering Bitcoin's near its all-time highs. You've gotten into this business a very long time ago and saw the future. Now you're seeing the future when it comes to AI data centers. And now you're transitioning a portion of the power that you own from tier 1, because those assets are worth a lot, but not worth nearly as much as if you're transferring that power that you own into tier 3, which could be worth up to 15x more. And you guys are sitting on lots of megawatts of power. I want to talk about the industry first before we get really into your company and how you foresaw this, because even 12 months ago, 18 months ago, even 6 months ago, the people I talked to who help build data centers, the people I talked to in the utilities and the power industry, when I look at the power and looking at the NVIDIA chips and how much power they're going to take even the next generations and the next generations, I will look in some estimates say it could be 200 gigawatts that we're going to need by 2030. Some are saying over 300. What is this doing to the power landscape? What are you seeing personally? Because transferring your business from that tier 1 to tier 3 hyperscalers puts you right in the middle of one of the greatest growth trends in the world.
We decided to change our symbol to reflect our overall strategy. We are a power company with 2 different distinct visions. One is the combining to scale up the power infrastructure, which we did for the last 8 years, and put us in a very competitive edge today because with no debt, 300 megawatt worth of power infrastructure, and some of that power we operate as a Bitcoin miner. We also developed something very unique. We acquired a combined cycle gas power plant. So we generate power, and we have a license to buy and sell energy. So that put us in the energy business. And then the AI revolution that's happening now put us in a very sweet position in the sense that we do not need to wait for our substation to be built, PPA with the utilities to be signed up. We don't have to wait for load studies that take 2 to 3 to 5 years. We are ready to go at once. And that put us in a very optimal situation.
So you look at your operational footprint, you have Alabama, right? You have capacity in Alabama of megawatts, also in 2 separate areas in New York, which is very, very difficult to get licensed. I mean, talk a little bit more about that. High barriers to entry, where if people want to say, okay, we're just going to come in and buy power, it's not the easiest thing to do. You almost have to take over a company, but starting from scratch and looking at your power where 100 megawatts. Your capacity is 200 megawatts of power, which is a lot of power that you guys have access to and own. How difficult is it to get those licenses for someone to say like me if I wanted to start from scratch?
It's quite difficult. You need to do load studies that takes years. So it has nothing to do with capital. The most capital ready to go, you won't be able to buy time. The utilities are a very slow motion regulated agency that do not act fast. You have thousands of people online, but initiated load studies, and you have to wait your turn, and that can take anywhere from 2 to 5 years just to get a load study. Then after the load study, you need to build the substation. That takes another 2 years, and then you can build your data center. So capital is not the only factor in that business. You have to have the power ready infrastructure.
Now, let's get into the details of Supermicro, a company I'm very familiar with. They had their problems accounting-wise a while ago. This has some of the best technology in the industry, right? Talk about why you chose them, because not only the liquid cool technology, which I think it's important to know because that's what hyperscalers are going for now compared to air-cooled, right? So they have the newest technology. But talk about using Supermicro because they're able to construct this where you have 200 megawatts capacity. And say 100 now, you get scaled to 200. But to do it all at once is insane. But Supermicro, explain the process of how you're able to do it, almost like building Legos, like these Lego blocks to add on, where now it's not just, doing this for hyperscalers or big utility companies. It allows a company like you to really participate and build these tier 3 assets.
We came up with an AI modular flexible system called ARMS that we developed with Supermicro. So the reason why we picked Supermicro, besides the fact that they are the leader in that field, in the rack systems, is that they have a very close relationship with NVIDIA. Therefore, that give us the access to the latest chips. The chips that we are starting with and acquiring are the B200. They are the latest, the most efficient chips today on the market. So we have very little competition. We're not competing with this hyperscale data center that are processing data with the older chips like the H100 or H200. We are starting with the latest, most efficient chips.
Which is pretty amazing, right? So people see a smaller company, don't know that you own this power, very high barriers of entry. Now, I want to talk about your fundamentals because usually a company, I've been analyzing company for 30 years. When I see a company transition from one business model to the next, they usually take a step back, right? One step back, two step forward. And it's great if they go to a subscription-based model or whatever. You're going from a model that's working great to a model that's going to be working unbelievably great, right? I mean, Bitcoin mining is still there for you guys. A lot of people believe Bitcoin is going to go a lot higher. Market we follow over 10 years now. When is this transition going to start? When is it actually it already started? But when does it transition into from the tier 1 to the tier 3? You said by the end of this year, and how much power are we talking about off the start? Like, give us the time frame from like the end of the year and into next year, how this transition is going to work.
So the transition is not taking away our growth for the mining. We do need the Bitcoin mining to scale up the power infrastructure and the energy contracts. The AI is leveraging the assets of the Bitcoin mining company. So one doesn't prevent the other to grow. And it's two different businesses in the sense that 1 megawatt of AI brings $10 to $12 million a year of revenues. It's basically 20, 30 times more than Bitcoin mining. But the investment is as well, of course, in consequence, correct? So we are leveraging our power infrastructure. To give you an example, we plan to have 3 phases for Alabama. Phase 1, the initial platform this year, small scale, still relevant to our bottom line for 2026. Then we're going to scale it up to 22 megawatts because we are ready with the substation, all the high voltage, everything is ready in terms of the power. And we just have to acquire the chips and manufacture our ARMS model. And then 2027, we'll scale up to the full 55 megawatts, which will be a substantial income stream.
So did you say 55 megawatts you're going to scale up to? That's going to be for tier 3?
Correct.
Could you run us through the math on that to just show us if you're looking at, because it is remarkable when I take a look at it. I'm going to take a look at it now. So when you're looking at 15x, so it's $1 million for tier one, you're transferring over and that would be 15 million. And I was doing it 22 to 30 megawatts, but I think this is important for investors to realize. So when you're doing at 55 megawatts and you said by 2027, if you times that by 15 million, which is what they're going for, you can even go conservative. You're looking at 800 million, say if it's even 500 million, right? And we're not even talking about the other 150, which is say $1 million, $150 million each. You're looking at 6, 7, 8, about 750 million in value there. Your market cap is at 80 million. Why the disconnect? And it was at 40 million not long ago, below that. So people starting to realize like, hey, this is a small company that is in this power revolution that so many of these other companies are really skyrocketing. But you guys are generating revenue. You got your revenue's up 65% year over year because you're generating so much revenue for Bitcoin mining. You're trading at a value that's 1/10 the value of your competitors in Bitcoin mining who are late, who are just saying that they're going to get over to tier 3, which you've been talking about 18 months ago and executing now. I mean, why still a disconnect, you think? And are you feeling like more and more investors are starting to realize this and that's why your stock's going higher?
I believe that the investors starting to understand that we are geared to execute by announcing our collaboration and partnership with Supermicro that gave us the credibility that was needed. Supermicro signed a $20 billion deal a few months ago. They are very good partner. We've been working with them for months, and we are leveraging their human resources, engineering to set up the platform, the first initial platform. So I believe that as we execute and start to operate, we will get motivation of the investor to invest and believe in our stock. So now we are really well positioned for that retrofit of Alabama. We have everything. We have the NVIDIA chips coming. We have the proprietary flexible arms unit coming and certified as a tier 3 to operate these chips. And we have Supermicro to assist us in setting up that flexible tier 3. Then all we have to do is copy and paste and scale up. Financially, we will scale up through predictable income, therefore debt financing, so we don't have a dilution of the shareholders, of course. You know, you have to remember that I'm one of the largest shareholder and I never sold one stock since I invested about $8 million about 8 years ago. And I think that we have a tremendous value. We're starting a new era, and I believe that the upside for our company is huge.
And it's interesting you say that too, because some people say we haven't sold a share. You have to realize, over the past 8 years, going through COVID, going through several like 2022 when AI really came. I mean, you say focus on this understanding and being able to see the future, not just in Bitcoin, getting in early as a Bitcoin miner, but also now that these tier 3 assets. I guess I'll ask you this question. What about, I'm sure you can't disclose, but I'm going to ask anyway. Are you seeing interest from clients? I don't know if you could say that or not, from tier 3. I mean, these guys, what I'm looking at, analyzing the power deals, the fact that Microsoft and some of these other guys are signing deals. Just, you look at 3 Mile Island. I mean, forget that it's not going to open 5 years for nuclear, right? And that's if you get all the approvals, state, local, and federal. And then they're buying power 20 years out. They're buying SMR technology, which is not even available on scale yet. And companies are trading at $10 billion valuations like Okla when they're not going to generate revenue for 3 years. It just shows you the demand out there from these clients where they're dying for power. Are they coming to you? Do they know you exist? Do you see that? Or you can't really disclose any of that? If you can, it's perfectly fine. But as an analyst, I'd like to know how to ask.
So Frank, a few months ago, we publicly disclosed our joint request for grants with this company called Nano Nuclear. We requested grants from New York State to convert our gas turbines into SMRs. So it's in motion. The future in the 5 to 10 years from now, we will power our data center via nuclear clean energy SMR. We initiated that concept 4 or 5 months ago. We disclosed it. And we already have the solution for that. We're developing the solution. So this is tier 3 data center powered by clean energy. That's our goal.
On a personal note, knowing the power statistics, are you nervous at all? Because when I look at power and I see you're getting some of the latest chips from NVIDIA, When you're looking at the VR chips, the next generation, which are specifically to liquid cool technology, NVIDIA is quick to say, well, they're 20x, energy efficient. Okay, that's partially right. But when you put in the rack system, it's increasing that electricity usage by 7x. Those are the next generation of chips that everybody wants right now. They're even replacing some of the air cool with the liquid cool because these work better with those systems. But all the models I'm looking at are not factoring in the amount of electricity the next generation from 2 years, for 3 years, for 4 years of those NVIDIA, and even AMD is starting to catch up. When you look at how much gigawatts, which I mentioned earlier, are you nervous at all? You think we're going to be okay with that power? Or is it kind of, I mean, you're right in the middle of it, which is great. But I was curious on a personal note, have you ever looked and said, how are we going to have this much power to power all this AI?
On a macro level, the Bitcoin mining require much more power than the AI data processing, much more. Secondly, it's kind of good news for our investment in the power plant. Our power plant is worth a lot of money today because of the demand in power. To give you an example, this week, we are not mining Bitcoin, we are selling energy at a very high profit. The entire week, because we're on the East Coast and the grid needs us. You had a heat wave since yesterday. So we are in a very unique position. We have an asset, our power plant, that's worth much more than a few years ago. And because we have the infrastructure and power in place with utilities, these contracts are worth also much more than prior. So I'm not worried about for us, about the access of electricity or power. We are well positioned. We have 300 megawatts, 60 megawatts are coming along from a load study we started almost 3 years ago. So we're going to be at 360 megawatts. 360 megawatts in terms of, if you even use half of it, 180 in AI, it's a tremendous amount of business. Tremendous amount of business. So we are well positioned. I think that the chips for AI are, of course, energy hungry, but not to the scale of a Bitcoin mining. It's a different concept. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of more energy than AI.
Bringing everything back around, your last quarter, you reported, I think, near record revenue. It was 65% growth year over year. We're not talking about small revenue. We're looking at 9.3 million for the quarter, right? So say, close to 10 million, so 37, 38 million for the year on an annual basis, right? On a run rate. On a company that's trading at an $80 million market cap, you have a lot of cash, right? It's sitting on a balance sheet, right now. And again, of course, as you build, you're going to, raise more money. That's great, right? So to grow this as it works, 65% growth year over year, massive growth catalyst in AI, zero debt. I mean, financials are great. And then I talked about this as a major catalyst, as a story potential. But Peter Lynch, I mean, when I see things like this and I see Peter Lynch and that Peter Lynch, right? That Peter Lynch is one of the greatest value investors of all time, investing. You'll see value investors investing in lots of high growth technology stocks. But, for him to be in your company, I mean, that's got to be an honor for you to see that. And I'm sure you talk to him sometimes, right?
Correct. He's been a very loyal investor, believed in the company and the future of the company, and is long on the company. So we are entering the most revolutionary category of business ever. AI for the next couple hundred years are going to be the center of dollar allocation from anyone. This is where it's all going. So I think we are at the startup of that revolution. We are well positioned as a company. We have a clear vision in terms of expansion, and we are doers. We are executing this year, not in 3 years from now, not in 5 years. It's not a project on paper. We've been building up data centers for the last 8 years, privately then publicly, and now we are elevating to a higher standard. And we are used to that because our power plant standard is similar or even higher than a tier 3 data center standard. So we are used to that environment.
Well, we are doers. That's a great line. And I know you are. I know your investors are very happy, but just, it's not just, hey, we see a stock going up. It's the execution that's taking place, the future. You see the excitement, and hopefully you join us again to give us more updates in the future, because I know there's probably going to be lots of positive news going on down the line. So I really appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you. Thank you, Frank.